My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. Stirring the piranhas in hopes that they might eat each other may eventually lead to them eating you. Yesterday, I happened to buy a Tucker Carlson video on YouTube simply called Tucker. This is happening everywhere, where Tucker was railing against BlackRock, the largest asset manager on the planet, with $8.67 trillion in assets under management. Tucker was essentially blaming the rising costs of real estate around the country on BlackRock's buying up single-family homes and turning them into rental properties. For a minute there, old Tucker sounded like a dyed-in-the-wool leftist, railing against the big investor class, taking away the American dream of our most average countrymen. I was deeply puzzled. What could possibly really be going on? Side note, the CEO of BlackRock is a guy named Fink. And the president is a guy named Capito. Kind of rhymes with capital. Just so happens that BlackRock was founded in 1988 by Bob Capito and Larry Fink. And you know, wow. Over 30 years together and still conquering the world. It's kind of amazing, really. They must be doing something right. By the way, they are listed as BLK on the New York Stock Exchange with a market cap of $131.84 billion and a modest PE ratio of 25.05. Reading all this, I'm like, hell yeah. Let's check them out. See about investing. Come to find out, they're all in on climate change. According to Simon Jessop with London Reuters, just today, quote, BlackRock said on Thursday it had agreed to a deal with Baringa Partners to buy the consultancy's climate modeling technology for use in its Aladdin risk management system, end quote. So when the largest risk management expert on the planet goes all in on climate change risk assessment with a huge wink and nod to, quote, opportunities, end quote, regarding hundreds of trillions of dollars in infrastructural decarbonization, it might be time to wake up and smell the coffee. As far as Tucker's complaint about investments in rental properties, BlackRock is probably just anticipating demand. Climate chaos may make owning property riskier for some folks than buying a home. According to a publication by Freddie Mac, the preference to rent has gone up between 2016 and 2018, largely for financial reasons. But some of that has to do with lifestyle and mobility. The link is in the description. Whatever the case, people are not as motivated by what they see on Fox News as they are by what they experience. Unfortunately, many of us are experiencing the climatological shit hitting the fan at least once a year and sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. Companies like BlackRock are in it for the long haul. Whatever they do is for the long-term good of their customers, and that's all there is to it. So we'll just have to see how old Tucker's analysis works out for him in comparison. And before I do the outtake, here are some images and video last Tuesday, and we're still waiting for our insurance company. We're still waiting for the tree people to come and extract this branch from our car. My wife parked in the front yard to bring my mother inside because my mother is old, and it's easier to get her in the house. You know, it's not as far to walk. And while she was here, a big windstorm blew up, wind and rain, as it often does in Florida this time of year, and snapped a branch off from a gum tree right next to the house. So this branch is up about 50 or 60 feet, and you can see how big the branch is, and it sort of like came over like the steeple of a radio tower or something. Kind of like something out of an Omen movie, you know, a Damien Omen movie, and stabbed the windshield of the car. And if my mother had been in the passenger side of that car at the moment that branch hit the car, it probably would have killed her. But she wasn't. She was safely inside, and it was lightning and thundering and blowing and, you know, sideways rain and all that. Speared the car, and the branch recoiled up and stabbed the side of the house. So the branch is actually stuck between the second story roof of the house, or the second story wall of the house, and the windshield of the car. Or not the windshield, but the actual floorboards. The branch goes all the way down to the floorboards. I haven't really looked yet to see if it penetrated the floorboards or not. And the upshot of that is that This is not the first time we've had. I mean, this is November. We had a tornado come through early in the morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, and knocked a tree over on our neighbor on this side. And he had to have a new roof and new soffits and everything, because the branch, they were laying in bed in the morning. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and a branch came through the ceiling and was staring them in the face. And I was wondering why the guy was like, wow, that was crazy. That was crazy last night. That was crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's climate change. So he has a new roof, and the people across the street, a big branch came down, took out the gas line and the water line of one neighbor across the street, and put a big giant hole in the other neighbor's roof, took the top out of a giant oak tree, and we just had a metal roof put on our house. Just had the metal roof put on it, so it took out the little piece of crown that hadn't been riveted on yet. So we got lucky. And this, some people think that, wow, that's a bad luck thing to have the branch hit your car. And I'm like, no, because the tree is right next to the sidewalk, and it's like, it's a wake up call. Get rid of the tree. You know what I mean? And it's a wake up call. So this is my point is, this is climate change. The whole boiling death, the Earth is going to turn into Venus thing, is that narrative that they floated back in between 2009 and 2012, between the Russians and all those people. It was meant to scare people into a revolution. And it kind of sort of didn't pan out. But the thing about it is that, greenhouse gas in the stratosphere around the equator causes global cooling around the equator. But at the same time, you get polar amplification in the North Pole, basically in the poles. And so there's this concept of the equalization of temperature across the globe, which is something that it's kind of sort of hard to remember. It's a concept that kind of floats by. But what it does is it causes the polar vortex to get real funky, and it causes excessive wind and rain, and that carbon dioxide and elevated sea surface temperature with the higher heat capacity of the seawater compared to the lower heat capacity of the land means that you have these temperature differentials that drive these huge pressure differentials that pull in moisture in large quantities off of the oceans, and just produce these phenomenal levels of rain and wind because of the compressibility of water. That's what they talk about energy. If you think of a piston cylinder device, that has a little bit of water in it versus dry air, if it's got a little bit of water in it, then it will expand more, but it'll also contract more because of the compressibility of water. The water is at the temperature of Earth is around the triple point of water, so that it exists as a gas, a liquid, and a solid all at the same time. And what that means is that, so when it's vapor, it's expanded, and it goes up into the stratosphere where it's cold, and then it compresses way down. So it's a lot. That's where your energy. That's what we're talking about with your energy, because of its massive compressibility. It goes from a very large volume to very tiny, because it turns into droplets. And we've seen over the past 10 years, we've seen rain events where you might see a foot of water drop in less than an hour, which is a lot of water. Or I think Hurricane Hugo, was it? Well, we've had several hurricanes. One of them hit Houston, and another one hit South Carolina, North Carolina, and of course there was a hurricane that came up right near the Kilauea volcano last year before that, something like that, and they're dropping like 5 feet of rain. Might be in the span of a couple of days, but you're talking about 5 feet of rain, 4, 5, 6 feet of rain. So that's climate change. And we need to. That needs to be the discussion, and it's damage. It comes down to damage, and then your insurance company has got to pony up for that damage, and then they start according to where you live, all of a sudden they start changing policies, and you got to pay more, and this and that, and blah blah blah. See, so that's climate change, and it's BlackRock. Like I said, they've been in business for over 30 years, which is amazing. Two dudes that start a company, and they're still, I guess, on good terms. They're still together. They're still working this thriving company. Basically conquering the universe with their company, and it's holding almost $9 trillion of assets. They're not going to screw around with $9 trillion if they're going in on climate change. And rental properties. I mean, maybe it might be possible that there's a sort of a thing going on where some folks out there are trying to tweak inflation to make Joe Biden look bad or whatever. I guess it's possible. But there's only so much of that you can really do. I mean, you really can't screw around with other people's assets that much. You can screw around a little bit. But, $9 trillion, that's, you can, I mean, if in the hands of a single person, but, that's complicated. And it's, I don't want to get into any kind of conspiracy theory kind of crap, because it's, that's kind of going out of favor. And another quick note here, I'm going to talk about AI in the next installment, what AI is really good for. It's good for sort of like shaping public consciousness, making people believe certain things, or sending certain messages to people who believe one thing, and then other messages to people who believe another thing, in order to produce the same result from both sides. And so that's what artificial intelligence is extraordinarily good at. And anybody who's got a phone, anytime you look at your phone, you're jacked into the system. So I know that, you know that, everybody knows that. So now people are unplugging. There was something where they thought, well, people are going to be able to live and work to like totally in a cyber landscape. It's not even in the world. They'll be able to make a living and just jacked into their computer. And I'm like, yeah, maybe someday. But I don't see that happening now, and I'll tell you why. Because I went to look at a tricycle for my mother the other day at a local bike shop, and these guys looks like they've something out of a, I don't know, like they're like they got some sort of reality TV program. One guy's got a leather like apron on with all these tools sticking out of it, and it's got this weird hairdo and shit, and that's what they look like. They've all got man buns and shit. They've got that charisma that looks like they're doing a reality TV show. And the guy's like showing me and my mother this trike, and I said, and so they have electric trikes. There's an electric trike that costs about $1,000. And I'm like, yeah, we're not going to get that. And the guy says, yeah, it's pretty scary, because it hauls ass, and it's like you feel like you might, if you wrecked on it, you're going to get some road rash, no doubt about it, because you can wreck a trike real easy. You turn it too much, and it'll throw you off. You can get thrown off of them. So they're scary. So we're talking about it, and I just happened, I mentioned it to this guy. I said, yeah, the Model S Plaid just broke the land speed record. It's like 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds. And he said, what's that? I said, the Tesla Model S Plaid. Like, oh. Like, dude didn't even know what the fuck I was talking about. We're talking about a guy who's like maybe in his late 20s. And I was like, holy shit, what's going on here? What's going on is that shit is so fucked up. I mean, like the cyber landscape is so obnoxious, so acidic, and so divided, and so fucked up that the kids are just saying, man, fuck this shit. They probably don't even look at the news anymore, because the news is all me. You know what I mean? And who the fuck wants to listen to that? Nobody likes to listen to bickering, and that's the whole thing. If news is nothing but bickering, you fucking check out. So that means that none of us really know what the fuck is going on. How do you even get your news anymore? So, and that's something the federal government used to do, is collect information. Like data about what's going on with the planet, and pollution and statistics and things like that. And we don't have that anymore because, well, you know why. And that's something that we need. We need information. We need data. As people, we need data about the fucking world. Reliable data. And, the tech people need to, pay attention. The kids are checking out. They're like, this, whatever this is, this, bondage of self, narcissistic, navel-gazing, bizarre, overly too interconnected world. It's my notifications on my phone. If I didn't, put it on Do Not Disturb, it would be fucking blinging at me all day long. Bling, bling, somebody put up a phone. Somebody said this. Somebody did it. Somebody answered your comment. Somebody get it back. Damn it. And after a while, you're like, man, fuck this shit. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And I don't think anybody else does either. It's a tool. It's a tool that's been turned into a weapon, and they're beating us to fucking death with it. You know what I mean? And when you try to use the fucking tool, it's like, it's false hope. It's a false hope. Come on. So, whatever Tucker's on, and Tucker's just making a living. Comes from the Swanson family, apparently. To hear Joy Reid, tell it. So, they're back and forth. Tucker's calling her the race lady. She's the race lady. And, Joyce got a degree from Harvard. She went to Harvard. She might have went to Yale too or something, and and she went on to say that, well, yeah, Tucker, because I've got really good SAT scores, blah, 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 and I'm better than you. So, the real truth is that Fox News does better when leftists are in control, and MSNBC does better when a right-wing psychopath is in control, because then it's like all eyes are on MSNBC. While we had Adolf fucking Orange Hair in fucking power, everybody was watching MSNBC to see what was going to happen next, to see when they were going to crank up the gas chambers and start gassing motherfuckers. You know what I mean? So it's a racket. And whenever it's like I don't even watch anymore. I watched it for a long time there, because we were going through a pandemic and that. But it's like, you know what? I need some fucking news. How about some news? Please. That's about it for now. My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this has been News from the Can, your climatological abuse for the day. If you like this content, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks for watching. Love you guys. Even if you don't give me a thumbs up, I still love you. Seriously. And that's it. Thanks for watching. See you.